I could say, I see that happening if the oligarchs who are mostly around him to protect him, and whose money, incidentally, is in U.S. banks. I don't know what they're going to do now with the sanctions. We supposedly have frozen their money in those banks, but if you listen to people like Misha Glenny, it's about 2/3 of their fortune is in U.S. banks, and U.S. banks are making lots of money off of it. In fees alone, they're making millions, hundreds of millions. If they get dissatisfied with him, he'll go fast, really fast. That's the reality of the situation. He's riding the tiger, and they're the tiger. They will eat him. Then the question becomes, which one of them becomes the new dictator?
Yeah.
So it's not a solution necessarily. You might get rid of the worst one, but.
You know, I have not to add to the question, when big part of the elite want to change the leader, they can change it. Yeah. And one part is the oligarchs, and the second part is the army. And, you know, have in mind that there are a lot of victims in the army by this war. We don't know exact the numbers, but they are quite high. And all these dead people are coming home, were brought home. And what are the mothers saying, and the fathers? We will even have in Russia a much other climate than now. We have the opposition of the liberal part of the society. We have the opposition of many, many young people. The young generation in Russia is deeply against the war. You know, I had two meetings with students of the Lomonosov University discussing about the war. None of these was in favor of the war. But don't forget, Moscow and the liberal elites are not really Russia. When you go to Russia, to Siberia and many parts of Russia, they are only listening to these horrible TVs in Russia, and they know nothing else. So to change the atmosphere in the whole society, it will be done when people are seeing how horrible is the war, how many victims are in the war, and their own soldiers and officers are the victims. So this will come quite soon. And I absolutely agree, when the oligarchs want to change it, they will change it. But I'm not so sure what will happen then. And be very careful only to demonize Putin. You know, never forget that the Putin of today is not the Putin of 2001, when he was speaking in the German parliament, getting standing ovation for his offer for cooperation solutions in Europe, for cooperative system from Lisboa till to Vladivostok. And it was the West. It was the NATO countries which said no to these corporations, which were going to the east and accept more and more countries in NATO, which were militarizing the politics, which were blaming Putin day to day. So the Putin of today, this horrible nationalist, chauvinistic guy, was made to such a guy also by the politics of the NATO countries. So the key point for getting cooperative relations to Russia is to change the politics of our government, that they really go for a policy of common security, for cooperative relations, for integrate Russia in an inclusive European system, and at the end, for overcoming military alliances, above all NATO. I think this is the answer. You know, the new leader of Russia could be even more worse. So be careful that we have to change the politics in our countries for a more peaceful way. That is the only solution for coming to a more peaceful world in this area and maybe in other parts of the world too.